This week, the Senate will consider a bill that would make the Department of Government Efficiency's cuts to public broadcasters and global public health programs permanent. The House narrowly passed the measure in June. It would slash more than $1 billion in federal funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which includes NPR and PBS. More than $8 billion in funds would also be cut from the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, and other assistance programs. The process starts with a formal request from the White House to Congress, allowing it to claw back funding for certain programs. Congressional committees weigh that request, and then the House and Senate vote on it. Mandatory spending items that are legally required to have money allocated, like Social Security, they can't be touched through this process. But for more, let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. And Nicole, Senate Republicans can only afford to lose 3 votes in order to pass these cuts. And Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine, as you mentioned, has been vocally against this bill, in addition to several other Republicans who have expressed their concerns. What are some of the main sticking points?
Well, obviously, there are some concerns about these cuts. In the case of Senator Collins, she is particularly concerned about funding for PEPFAR, which was one of the programs that was supposed to be granted a waiver when USAID was dismantled. But there have been some issues with respect to that funding, and that is funding that she doesn't want to see cut. Of course, that is funding to combat HIV in many developing countries. And again, a lot of that funding has been in jeopardy since we have seen some of these DOGE cuts pushed through. So her concern is that she doesn't want to see that be a part of a package like this. And then you also have some senators from states that have large rural populations who are concerned about some of these cuts to public broadcasting in particular, because many of those local stations could be pretty hard hit. In fact, I just spoke to the president and CEO of NPR a short time ago, who told me that this could be very devastating for a lot of local news stations, particularly in areas that rely on these stations for coverage, that this could potentially create news deserts if some of these stations were eliminated because of these cuts. But she did acknowledge many of them receive a large portion of their funding. It makes up a large portion of their budget in terms of some of these local stations. So that is the concern if this package were to go through.
So, Nicole, on Tuesday, on another point, Mike Waltz will appear on Capitol Hill for his confirmation hearing to be U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. As Waltz briefly served as President Trump's national security advisor before being ousted from that role in May, what kind of questions do you think he's most likely to face during that hearing?
Well, obviously, this will be his first appearance before a congressional panel following that Signalgate controversy that erupted earlier this year, where, of course, a reporter was on a text chain with respect to other top administration officials as they were communicating war plans. And so as a result of that, of course, we saw Mike Waltz have to leave that position and post as national security advisor, but then ultimately he was nominated for this position to become the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. So it's possible we could see him face some questions on that Signalgate controversy. Obviously, this is also the first time he'll be appearing since the U.S. and President Trump ordered those strikes against Iran, which could be a prominent topic for discussion as well. But of course, in light of that controversy, we also saw then Elise Stefanik, who was previously nominated to that post for UN ambassador. Her name was abruptly pulled as a result of concerns about the impact to the House GOP majority. So a lot has changed since Mike Waltz has been nominated, but certainly many topics expected to come up in what could be a contentious hearing tomorrow.
And we know you'll be covering it all. Nicole Killion, thank you very much.
You bet.